Hi guys, it's TJ, the product manager here at Hapn, and we're going to dive in and take a look at the Hapn applications. Now we've got a web app and a mobile app. We're definitely going to take a look at both, although we are going to start right now in our web application. So the web application is primarily functions as your admin panel, or anytime you're sitting at the desk working on the computer, it's going to be the version of the app you want to use. And what you're seeing right now on screen is our live tracking map. This is where you're going to go to get that immediate look at the current information about any of your trackers. We even list all the devices here on the left side, and we've got an easy search that you can go to if you need to find specific devices. Click in and see exactly where they are. As you can see, you're going to get updated information with your battery life, whether the device is plugged in, its last known location, and when the last time it checked in with us is. This is all really valuable to get that immediate broad picture of where exactly everything is. Then you can dive in and you can see specifics after that. We hit resume, it's going to zoom us back out. And if we clear our search, it's actually going to take us all the way back up to the top where we've got our deeper cluster, allowing us to dig in and see those smaller groupings of trackers. It makes it much easier to manage when we do that way. You can also go in and quickly and easily filter this view by tracker status, by battery percentage, and whether the device is plugged in or not. Again, it's letting you slice the data into smaller pieces to make it a little bit more manageable, a little bit easier to digest. Okay, so now after we take a look at live tracking, which is where your entry point into Hapn's applications are, if we go up here to the left menu, we've got all of our other things that we might want to look at. And the second thing that you might want to see, and one of the most popular features, if not the most popular, is Time Machine. And that's where you're going to go to take a look at that historical activity. Less about where something is now, and more about where did it spend the last slice of time. And as we dive in, you can see we can choose a preset specified time, either yesterday, the day before. You can see the options there on the screen. Or if we want to set up specific date and time to look at, we can also do that as well. For our purposes here, I'm just going to hit yesterday. Then we're going to go to choose our trackers, and it's going to let us pick up to 5 devices at a time to look at this historical activity. So we're just going to pick 5 and hit go back in time. And we're going to run our calculation. And now we have got a broad picture of all 5 devices and their historical activity. We can see the total distance they covered, how long they were moving. We can even see individual positions. Now, just for the sake of what we want to watch, we're going to pick one of our devices and start scrolling through our timeline here. And we can actually watch this tracker as it moves through yesterday, the 19th. We can watch it move through that slice of time. Now, what's even more interesting, and I think even more valuable for a lot of use cases, is now we can see something, maybe that interests us. Maybe it's the fact that this tracker should not have been at 1201 Piper Boulevard. Well, if I click into this position report, I can get an exact picture of what was happening at that exact moment in time with this device, with this asset. We can see that it was moving at 28 miles per hour. We can see that location. We get the overhead satellite imagery, and we get some contextual information about the local conditions. Was it raining? Is that why they went to the wrong location? Why they were stopped somewhere? Maybe that's why they're running a little bit late. You can also even see nearby locations if you want to view that in Google Maps. And you're going to get the local information, or not local, but the relevant information about all of your GPS device data here, the IMEI, the ICCID, things like that. Things that let you know which tracker you're specifically looking at. Now, we can also get directions to this location, although that's a little bit more effective in the mobile app, and that's actually where we'll dive into it. Time Machine is incredibly useful to dig into past performance data. Was an asset being used as it should have been? Was the rental guidelines being followed for rental equipment? Things of that nature. It's a great way to slice time up into smaller chunks and view that historical activity that can give you context for what's been happening with all of your tracked assets. Okay, now after Time Machine, we're going to jump into our next important thing, and that's activity. So activity is a historical record of all of the things that are happening with your devices broken down into trips and stops. This allows you to consume historical activity at a more macro level than Time Machine does. It's much more about seeing these cards with overarching statistics. You can see here we've got a 27-minute stop. So that's how long that tracker was stopped at one location. And we can keep scrolling down and we can even find some shorter trips that these devices have taken. Now, if we want to see these in the map, we can do that by simply clicking, ironically enough, View in Map. And what that's going to do is it's going to show us a quick look at that tracker's positioning. This is not as detailed or in depth as Time Machine. This is much more about just quickly getting a sense of where the devices have gone, maybe for a specific day or even for a certain period of time in the same day. Now, if we hit hide, it's going to take us right back out to that normal view. This is a great way to consume data quickly in chunks that are still historical, but it's more same day. Where are my guys? Did they make all of their deliveries on time? Have they been stopping at the preconceived locations that we talked about in the morning meeting? Now, if we go back to our menu up here, we've got alerts, which is a really interesting field. This takes us to an alert report that is going to show you any triggered alert by your devices. And we'll dive into the rest of the reporting tool here in a minute. But this is a pre-filtered look at any of those important events that we'll set up in our preferences that allow you to get data without being glued to your computer screen or your mobile app. It's interesting, but that's one of our goals, is to make an app that's easy enough to use and does the work in the background so you don't have to be glued to the screen. Trust me, I want you to love our apps, but also don't want you to spend a ton of time in them. Now, the alerts report is going to show you what the type of alert is, some details about the specific alert. For instance, if you're speeding, it'll show what speed the vehicle was traveling, our time and date, the location of the alert, and then the GPS time, which is how you can be sure that it was an accurately recorded report and it's not being back loaded in with excess data. So this is actually a perfect segue for us to go to some of the admin settings, because the alerts that we just looked at in that report is actually configured here in the settings. So we've got our basic account information here on the first page, but here the second page is what becomes very, very interesting and very, very exciting, especially when you're setting up a new account. These are the tools that allow you to customize your GPS account with Hapn to exactly what you need it to be. We've got varying types of alerts, all the way from speeding, which are custom configured here, battery type alerts, and boundary entry and exit. Now, this may be referred to as geofences as well. We call it boundaries. And it is, in essence, a digital fence around a spot on the map that allows you to get notifications when your trackers interact with that spot on the map. It can be used for theft prevention and protection. If you've got a lot of valuable equipment parked out in a yard, you definitely need to keep eyes on that, and this is the way Hapn can help you. But it's also incredibly valuable to get information about comings and goings of employees. If you set one around your home yard and around all of your standard delivery locations, you'll get those notifications even when you're not looking at the screen. Boundaries can become a really excellent management tool, not just for emergencies, but also just for day-to-day goings on with your fleet, with your assets, with your vehicles. SOS is a very specific alert to a specific type of tracker where you have to physically press a button to get a notification. And then we dive into movement notifications, boundary notifications. We've got a lot of different notifications based on charging status. And one of the most common ones, and one of the ones that has been really popular and really works in that theft prevention side of things, is disconnected from power source. A lot of our popular hardware is hardwired to assets, be it generators, be it excavators, be it bulldozers. And there is a large concern that if somebody sees that tracker, well, of course, they're just going to snap it off of there. That's true, but our trackers do have a backup battery, and with this disconnected from a power source alert enabled, you'll be immediately notified when that happens so you can react quickly. And that's really the name of the game with theft prevention. How quickly can I get valuable information that will then let me react and make that information, put that information to the best use? We also have some tamper sensors for specific trackers, like the light sensor, and ignition on off, which is how we actually measure things like active hours and hours used, which we'll take a look at when we look at the reporting tool. This is all about the alert, though. Again, theft prevention or even misuse. If you've got an asset where a rental contract for it specifies it can only be used for 7 hours a day during the daytime for safety reasons, well, if you get an ignition notification at midnight, that might be something that you need to react to. Again, this is all about finding that important data that lets you then make a decision. You're empowered by these alerts to then make a call that either fixes a problem or increases optimization, increases efficiency. We're always adding new alerts too. That's one thing that we're really focusing on, is taking feedback from customers and clients that already exist that need a different type of alert and a notification, and then we get to have fun and go to our Willy Wonka playground and come up with a way to make that alert and notification real. Alerts and notifications are going to be important for every type of user, whether you're, again, I'm going to harp on theft prevention again, but whether you're using that, or if you're trying to optimize rental contracts because you've got massively expanding lawn care rental business where you're renting out mowers to homeowners and industries. Well, this is an important thing to manage, are going to be those alerts and notifications. Now, speaking of management and optimization, our next section here in the preferences is the users. So users are people that you can add to your Hapn account as additional users, whether they be employees, which you can add in as admins that maybe have access and manage a piece of your Hapn account, manage part of your business as far as GPS is concerned. Or it can be a value add for your customers as well. Let's say you need to share delivery locations or estimated arrival times for large commercial equipment. Let's say you're installing water tanks at new home construction sites. Well, those teams, those construction teams that are your customers, they need to be aware of when your drivers are going to arrive with that big equipment. You can give them view-only access by adding them as a admin, or not an admin, as a collaborator to your account. You can invite them with limited view, so they're not going to see your information, and you're going to be able to control what they are able to consume. If we call them a collaborator, you can give them access to a limited selection of trackers, only the ones that are on the tank that they are getting to install. You can limit the historical activity for that tracker, so that way they're not going to see the last time you used this specific tracker going to maybe a competitor or just other private information. That's all hidden because you can share specific dates. And you can give them or limit access to boundaries, so that way they're not going to get the sort of infrastructure you've set up for your Hapn GPS. They're just going to get valuable data for themselves. And that's a really great way to sort of increase your own product value with the product that you're also getting value out of. And stacking those kind of optimizations and those kind of profit maximization is a really great thing. Users are very powerful. It's a tool that can be utilized either internally or externally. So it's one of those that we really lean on. It lets you spread the sort of the management needs among your staff, not just from one person trying to manage a large organization, but across many hands. And that way you're going to get the best eyes on the data and, again, be enabled to make those decisions that you need to. Then we've got our tracker section, which this is very interesting. This is a full list of all of your GPS devices, but it's also where you access the individual tracker settings. Here is where we get into some nuance, where you're going to have a lot of tools to make Hapn's applications and Hapn's hardware perform exactly how you need it to. This is how we're going to build with your CSM and your own internal teams that bespoke account that's really going to solve the problems that you need it to solve. So first off, we can rename our trackers. We can add very distinct descriptions. And this is all important because those alerts and notifications that we looked at and the reporting tools are always going to refer to those trackers by the custom name that you give them. So the naming convention becomes very important. You know, tracker 1 might not mean too much, but Volvo 770 VIN number 3X495Y is very specific for your record keeping, and that's always what we advise. Then we're able to pick exactly what we're tracking, but more importantly, down below that, we've got a different sets of tracker behaviors. These are things, configurations that allow you to, again, customize this device to do exactly what you need it to do. So looking through here, we've got reporting mode. Now, reporting mode is the frequency at which the tracker is going to send positional data to our servers. More quickly is obviously better in a lot of cases, but not always. You might need a limited flow of data. So you've got a wide range of options, and you can make those changes right here in the application. We have performance mode, which is going to give you a 5-second update, all the way up to power saving mode with a 24-hour interval, which will be a once a day update for those situations where you're not concerned about that moment to moment movement. You just want to make sure that that thing is staying safe on its location. This is perfect for larger non-mobile equipment like generators, dumpsters, that sort of thing. Even material tracking is a really big asset when you're using that power saving mode. This is a really flexible tool. Reporting modes is something that you can get dialed in and perfect because, as you see, we've got a couple of other modes as well, which are in between the two extremes of every 5 seconds when moving and 24 hours, whether it's moving or not. Obviously, that's something that account to account we get more and more familiar with, and we really get that dialed in to provide the right amount of data, not too much, not too little, for each specific use case. Then we've got the ability to control things such as the stop threshold, network mode. That's if you're traveling internationally, you can adjust the SIM right here in the application. And we've got a few different things to allow you to set up better record keeping. For instance, if we want to put the tracker on a device that already has mileage calculated, we can throw that new mileage calculation in here, and that's able to match with the tracker to keep the statistics accurate. It's a lot of important stuff. We can also come in here and do some self-service troubleshooting. If there is something happening and you need to quickly ping a device, for instance, ping being a command to force the tracker to report in, you're able to do that right here. And you can even contact our support and manage subscriptions right from this location. This is a powerful tool. This page right here, again, I know I keep harping on it, but taking this software, taking this application and making it your own is a very important piece of the puzzle. And this is the page that allows you to do that. This tracker settings, this tracker behavior page in particular. Now, different hardware does have different behaviors. We're not going to take a look at all of them today in the hope for some brevity, but we do have a lot of different behaviors that are unique to each piece of hardware, and that's definitely something, again, that lends itself to finding the right tool for a specific problem. And the last thing we're going to touch on here on our preferences is just some basic settings views here of the app. You can adjust the map style. You can adjust our distance units. These are going to be minor things that allow you to customize the platform to be exactly what you want it to be as well. Now, diving back into our menu over here, we have got the Boundaries tab. This is where you're going to create and manage your existing boundaries. Again, these are spots on the map that we're managing with a digital fence. So I'm going to click Create a New Boundary, and we're going to have the ability to dive in here, create a large circular boundary over a large swath of land. This might be useful if you've got a contract where you've got to work in certain city limits. You can create a large span and make sure that nothing's leaving a major geographical area that it should stay in. But most of our users get the most work out of using these custom boundaries, where we get in and draw very specific locations. Say this is our main yard here on this property, and we want to make sure that we're not getting anything taken off of our property at any point. Each click is adding a point to the map, and we can close it just like that. And now we've got that custom boundary built in that's going to give us those notifications anytime a tracker enters or exits. So it's going to give you comings and goings. It's really important to set up boundaries around your storage locations and common customer locations. You know, if I rent out 7 excavators to a building site, I need to know that those are staying on the agreed upon site doing the agreed upon work. So I'm going to draw a boundary around that customer's build area. And that's going to give me those notifications that they're not moving excavators to additional sites to avoid paying me the fees that I need. But it's also, if I share that information with my customer, going to let them protect against theft for their asset that they're investing a lot of money into as well. You know, they're on the hook for the excavators that I've rented them, so the value add to keep it safe for them is definitely there. And boundaries, again, are that core key thing that allow you to do it. The same thing with the trackers. We want to give it an accurate name because any notification is going to refer to the boundary by a custom name. So I want to give it something that really says what it is. If it's a, home builder work site, We might give it a name like that, Ryland Homes' new work site, because that's something that's very specific. I know exactly where that is, and I know exactly what they're talking about when I see that. So boundaries are, again, a core functionality. I think all of our customers really get a lot of value out of boundaries, and I highly recommend that we find ways to work those into any use case, no matter what we're doing. Then we've got a list of our current boundaries here on the left side, and we can manage them, we can delete, we can view, typical management type things there. Then the last thing we're going to look at here on the web application before we dive into mobile is our reporting tool. And reports are ways to see data that's not visualized on the map and consume things in mass quantities. We've got our alerts report, which we took a look at. We have a boundary activity report, which lets you see those comings and goings from the boundaries in list form. That's great to make sure your guys maybe make it to delivery locations on time. We've got activities report, which shows all of our completed trips and stops. It's a great way to, again, see that scaled data broken into larger chunks. Tracker positions is a all-encompassing, it is the grains of sand on the beach. It is every single position report generated by your devices. It's a large report, but it really lets you dig into that minute to minute, sometimes 5 second to 5 second behavior of your assets. And then the one that we're actually going to take a look at is tracker usage. So this is an important report because it allows you to see and consume the amount of time that your assets are being utilized, either via movement or just activity. So we're going to go in and we're going to filter out for the last month all of this data, and we're going to hit apply. And we're going to wait for this report to load in. And here, if we take a look at the Hapn Bridge 4055, we can actually see a lot of relevant data. We can see that for these 19 days that I've queried, we're looking at the 1st of June to the 20th of June. It was active for 11 of those days. So that means on 11 of our 19 days, the ignition was started. And that's an incredibly important thing for you to see. If you're renting out equipment and I'm renting it out for a month, but I'm only giving you 14 active days, well, I've got a really easy way to measure if that thing's being used too much. Active hours, similarly, I can see that in those 11 days it was on, the ignition was turned on for 53.72 hours. It's great for you to check back with those rental contracts to make sure that you're getting accurate usage. And again, a value add for your customer, they can see that they're getting maximum usage for their dollar. It's a great value add for the users as well. And then we can also see days moving. We can see moving hours. Now, something interesting happening here, this is a great example of why we have those two values separately. Well, the 14 is greater than the 11 here. So clearly this was moving when it wasn't turned on. Exactly. Maybe something was towed to a different location. And the opposite can be true, as we see down here on Hapn Swift Wired. It has 12 active days, but only 11 days moving. Well, maybe on that extra day, it's an excavator and it was sitting on one location, digging all day for 8 hours, but it never changed location. That's why those two values are separate. They provide very different data, but when looked at together, it gives you that complete picture of what's been going on with a specific asset. Then we've also got our distance calculations here, taking a look at the total distance covered and our starting and ending odometer value. The tracker usage report is the ideal way to take information gathered from these GPS devices and push it out and see it in a way that lets you then react. It's an incredibly valuable thing. And it also lets you maybe optimize your own internal usage. If I've got 17 bulldozers available for lease, and I look at my report for 6 months and see that there's only 3 of them with a lot of usage, it might be time to trim that fleet back a little bit, put one of those devices up for one of those pieces of equipment up for sale, and reposition myself to utilize more of my active assets. Let's say my forklifts are renting out like crazy for the past 6 months. Again, it's that data that empowers you to then go and make a decision. Okay, so that is a rough and ready, very quick look at the web application. I'm now going to screen share from my mobile device, and we will take a look at the mobile application. Okay, so we are now at the landing page of the mobile application. This is that same live map that we experienced on web, just in a more mobile friendly, easier to access, at least in my opinion, sort of view. We've got our filters along the top. If we tap on those, we can very quickly and easily zoom in on a specific tracker. And then if we resume, we go right back out to the full view. Now at the bottom, we have got our list of 27 trackers on this account that we can scroll through, get information about their current status. We can even dive in and follow them on the map if we want to, very quickly and easily by simply tapping right on the device. So the tracker is, this bird's eye view is really powerful. If we're looking at wanting to follow a device on, say, an important delivery as it's moving something across town, and we want to watch it, the best way to do it is on mobile in follow mode, which is what we're looking at right now. Now, if we back out of the screen here and hit our resume, again, we're going to be taken to that full scale view. Down at the bottom, we have got an icon for that historical view that we looked at on web app, Time Machine. And here we've got a pre-configured session set up that we can scroll through and get that wonderful moment-to-moment, second-to-second data. And if we click on a position, we can get to our position snapshot, which is incredibly valuable. Let's say one of my guys left a valuable piece of equipment at this work site the other day, and I need to navigate my truck back there to pick that equipment up. It's as easy as tapping the Get Directions, loading it in, and hitting go. It's super simple. It's a super easy way for us to quickly navigate to those historical locations via position snapshot. And we're getting that exact same data. I can also share that location via text message, via airdrop, email, however you internally share data. You can quickly share these positions as well. Now, backing out and going back to our home screen here, at the bottom, we have also got that list of activities. Again, that's all of my completed trips and stops that we might want to take a look at. It's an incredibly valuable way to get big picture information quickly on mobile. Let's say I'm out and about and I'm running my business as well. I might not have time to get in and get to the computer, but I want to get a quick overall picture of what my team has been doing for the day or what my assets have been up to. This list is a great way to consume that very quickly without even having to think about even running a report. Then over here on the left side, we also have the ability to do some very neat things, such as the QR scanner, which allows us to very quickly and easily scan the back of a device. And it's going to pick up which tracker we're looking at right away. And it's a super easy thing. This is my test unit right here. So it's actually not hooked up to the Hyundai Kona. It's in the house. But that's one of the ways that you're going to utilize that camera scanner, is to quickly figure out a specific tracker. If you're managing 400, 500, 6,000, 7,000, you need to quickly be able to scan them when you're associating them with a particular device. And that's why we have added that feature in. You can also utilize your account data here. You can change your tracker settings as well. We'll actually dive back into that same device. And we can adjust our reporting modes just like we could on web. We can do all of that customization work that we can do on that web app right here in our mobile device as well. It's a super handy tool, and it's a super easy way for us to still be mobile, for us to still be on the go, but still have that overall picture and be able to do exactly what we want to do with our GPS account with Hapn. Now, some other things that we're able to do here on the mobile application is quickly look at a list of alerts as well. Again, alerts are that valuable information that we have to see, the important things that we want the platform to tell us. We're able to see those quickly and easily. And if we need to, say, access where did this happen, a quick tap will show me exactly where that was. And as you can see down at the bottom, if I need to see that in greater context, what was happening all day, we're easily able to then tap in, see it in Time Machine, and view the entire process, what was happening at that time. It's a super handy way, it's a nested way to move through the information here on mobile. Okay, so that's going to wrap up our mobile section, and that's going to bring us to the end of this demo. I hope you were able to see and get a sense of what's being done here with the Hapn mobile and web applications. Again, my name is TJ, the product manager here at Hapn. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.